More breaking news, this time out of the West Coast that we're following this morning. Take a look at some of these pictures out of San Diego. The folks in Southern California, they cannot catch a break. As we speak, crews there battling a brush fire that popped up overnight. The sheriff's office says an evacuation order is in effect as we speak. Other homes on notice to potentially need to be evacuating this. We've been tracking this for about an hour and a half, and it's remained at about 50 acres in size. Keep in mind, though, this fire, just the latest in a string of devastating fires burning across Southern California. Those ones that we've talked about in the last few weeks, those are a good 130 miles north of this, up in the LA area. When you talk about the Palisades fire, when you talk about the Eaton fire, that's an area north of this. This is the first time, at least in the last few weeks, that the wildfires have skirted down towards San Diego, threatening homes, threatening businesses there, with some dramatic video we're seeing this morning. We'll keep our eye on this throughout the morning here on WCNC+. But you know what? What we've talked about now for several days here, what's fueling this? The Santa Ana winds. They're playing a big part in what are driving these wildfires right now in California. Yeah,
I want to bring in our Chris Mulcahy here to break this down. Chris, we were talking just days ago about the progress that had been made in the LA area. Now we're seeing 2 hours south, more fires, and the Santa Ana winds adding to the impacts.
And I made this graphic a couple weeks ago, and literally all I did was I just slid the map down to San Diego. And if you were watching us by any chance during that, where I was trying to raise your weather IQ, we're looking at the same scenario. It's just further south, because what happens with Santa Ana winds, all of that air is compressed and it blasts through the canyons. So you can see these little fingerlings. Where are they going? Right around San Diego. This is a very similar looking map to a couple weeks ago when everything started around LA. So this is a significant situation. Now, the good news is that those winds start to take a big step back once you get to about the mid to late afternoon. It's still going to be breezy, but at least you're not looking at those gusts exceeding 40 miles per hour pretty consistently. Quickly raising your weather IQ, the reason why all this happens is whenever you have a high pressure system that kind of builds over the Sierras, that flows mountain air down to the mountains, and that pushes into the deserts where it dries out further. It's all compressed, it's warmed up, so it's really warm, dry air, extra dry compared to normal, which is not a good situation, and then it squeezes through the canyons, and that's exactly what you just saw from what's called our low-level jet. That's picking up on what the atmosphere is doing about 5,000 feet up. It's usually something called the tropical jet that controls it. No, these winds are so strong it's actually picking about a mile up into the atmosphere, but all that flows directly towards the Pacific Ocean, so it just takes a spark to catch things on fire, and then it just constantly feeds into it. If you've ever done a campfire, what do you do sometimes to try to get it going? You blow into it. Picture that's happening for hours and hours on a much greater scale. So this is the reason why all this is happening. On top of that, look at that drought status from Los Angeles down through San Diego at a severe drought, which is starting to go to extreme drought status. So just an ongoing situation, and the Santa Ana winds usually last through February.
Chris, is there anything unique about San Diego? I mean, I know we're still dealing with the same basic topography there in Southern California. Is there anything unique about San Diego that would save it from sort of the situation that LA has found itself in?
The other thing with San Diego is all these places are pretty dry, but sometimes you can get a little bit more moisture that kind of comes off of this compared to LA. Not a big difference, but that's the only thing that's going to really save it. Also, I think there's a little bit more of a desert area up in here. Topanga Canyon's very desertous, so that does help out. It's a little bit more flush with some of that foliage around San Diego, but that also kind of works against it, that you might actually have more things to burn as far as some of those trees go, but not really a big advantage really from San Diego up even through San Francisco.
And again, we are learning that families have been asked to evacuate from that area. I'm sure after they've been watching the news coverage out in LA, very nervous about what to expect at their own homes. That fire 0% contained at this hour.
Right.
Yeah.